But we've noticed a problem in the 21st century. In the 21st century, especially with classical music, audiences are having a harder time connecting to what we do, probably for a lot of reasons. But I think there are two reasons in particular. One is that we're constantly being distracted by technology. I say this while I'm holding a piece of technology. But everything is constantly buzzing and vibrating and sending us notifications, and it's always splitting our attention. So it's hard to focus for a long period of time. And the other thing is, I feel like our society maybe has put a little bit less energy into music education, and so we don't have quite the same background and the same kind of context that previous generations maybe had for being able to sit through concerts and understand and appreciate those kinds of things. So I want to demonstrate this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play an excerpt of music for you. It's a relatively famous piece of music, so you may recognize it. If you do recognize it, I'm going to ask that you don't say anything about the piece of music yet. I'll give you an opportunity for that a little bit later. But for now, just listen to it. Right there. So I want you to think for a moment, whether or not you know this piece, just reflect on the listening experience that you had. Did it grab you in some way? Or did you find it boring? Did you find it exciting? Did it connect to some kind of emotion? Whatever it may be, just think about that to yourself for a moment, and we'll come back to that. Does anybody happen to know what piece of music this is? It is Mozart. Very good. Do you know which Mozart piece? This is an excerpt from Mozart's Requiem. So Requiem is, you may know, say it one more time?
Sad.
It is sad, yeah, absolutely. Requiem is a Catholic death mass. And so coincidentally, this is the very last piece that Mozart wrote. He was writing this piece and he left it incomplete. So when he passed away, he didn't have a chance to finish it. But his wife, Constanza, needed the money that he was going to earn from the commission. So she hired Mozart's student, whose name was Franz Xaver Süssmayr, to finish the piece. In the excerpt that we just heard, this is actually Mozart's very last musical moment ever, because we know exactly where Mozart's handwriting stops and where his student Süssmayer's handwriting begins. I'm going to play this piece for you one more time. And this time, when we get to Mozart's final two measures, I'm just going to slowly raise my hand so you can see where that is. And when my hand comes down, that's where Süssmayer's handwriting begins. For me, it sounds like the last exhalation of genius from one of the greatest minds that ever lived on this planet. Anybody have a different listening experience that time?
Yeah.
It's amazing how the context changes our experience. Musicians have been learning this the hard way because as context has disappeared, our audiences have disappeared. And so we can always sit around and say, oh, okay, this is unfortunate, but we could also try to do something about it. And maybe it's an opportunity for us. For many people, this has been going on for a long time. The musicians of the 20th century have tried to give this context, to try to show people the story behind what's happening. The stories make such a big difference. I love to travel, and I'm convinced that when I travel, the food always tastes better. So sometimes the food really is better. You know, pasta in Italy, street food in Thailand, it's very hard to beat those things. But additionally, if I were to eat, let's say, some blueberries, and I eat them in the United States at home, I wash them, I rinse them off, and then I eat them, and that's it. When I'm traveling, I'm much more likely to look at the blueberries and think to myself, is this a new type of blueberry that I'm not used to? When I put it in my mouth, I'm more likely to roll it around on my tongue and feel the texture. So when I'm doing that, I'm creating a different experience. That food is going to taste better to me because I'm creating different contexts. When I come back home and I tell somebody about those blueberries, I'm not just going to say, I have these really good blueberries. I'm going to say, I was in this really remote region in southern France, and the farmer came up to me. There's going to be a story connected to it. When we have these stories, this helps give our audience a different perspective, a different listening experience.